Why is it always the hardest before and after the biggest breakthroughs? Well, you are closing and opening a new chapter in life, something you're not going to hear other people talk about. So this is a must-watch episode. This is your invitation to become the alchemist of your life. You decode your heaven on earth and go through the alchemical process. The alchemist is a master of himself so that he can master life. People thought alchemists were turning lead into gold, but they're really crystallizing their soul into form. Alchemize your golden potential. Welcome to the Golden Life. Welcome to the Golden Life. My name is David Gilbert. I'm here to help you become the alchemist of your life so you can create a life overflowing with inner and outer gold. And if you're going to be the alchemist, if you're going to be somebody committed to self-mastery and transformation and alchemizing more of your golden potential, well, you are going to go through many of what I just call alchemical journeys, which is a fancy way of saying you're going to open and close a lot of different chapters in your life or have a lot of big breakthroughs. Now, breakthroughs, it's even kind of in the name, right? You're breaking through. You could see, you could feel, if you try to feel that word, like there's a lot of resistance and then you're breaking through, which sounds painful. Guess what? It is painful. But why do we make it even more painful than we really need to make it? And that's what we're going to talk about today, the pre and the post breakthrough that we're not always aware of, that, as I know from my own experience, if you get stuck resisting these parts of the breakthrough process, you're going to extend the breakthrough for way longer than you want, and you're going to be stuck in the misery, despair, or just overthinking or whatever unfun place it is to be stuck in between instead of releasing and realigning to the breakthrough. So what am I talking about? I can share from my own experience. A couple years plus back, I had a really big awakening moment. And that moment was really profound for me. And it was another ego dissolution. I've had a couple big ones where I completely, either had the carpet pulled out from under me or I just lost who I thought I was and I was evolving into this new version of myself. And those are the scariest moments. Because let's acknowledge it. Maybe you've heard this before, maybe you haven't. What's happening? You're dying. Who you think you are, your current ego or personality is dying and a new one is being reborn. And I know you kind of blocked it out of your memory, but guess what? Coming out that birth canal as a baby was not fun. You may have been the select few who weren't crying immediately, but that was a lot of work and it was difficult and it was scary and it's one of the hardest things you've done, and you've done really hard things there. I'm reminding you, and so you could do more hard things, but that's why the rebirth process is so difficult. So that's what we're talking about today. And when it comes to breakthrough, it's always been my own experience that when I get closest to the biggest breakthroughs, this is where for myself, I've always dealt with a lot of mental chatter. Right, I've told the story of I was originally going to get the St. Michael tattoo with the St. Michael killing the demon underneath him. I named the demon. It was Freddy Krueger. It felt like a Freddy Krueger in my head. Now I kind of see it as like the shadow side of Venom, just saying crazy things in the head. So I've always dealt with these negative thoughts and had to learn how to transmute them, not fight them. So I know my past experience, I can look back on the trajectory of my life and the different, peaks and valleys. And when it came to some of the biggest breakthroughs and some of the darkest peaks, I would have the most mental chatter. My mind would be going crazy. And I can go back to the one of the most profound awakening moments I had where I went through the experience. Mickey Stefanoff, who I acknowledged in the book, was part of that. And after that, was this beautiful moment of trust in the universe. Because to share my own story, I lost my dad at the age of 11 suddenly. And as a mentor reflected back to me, this is something that I like to repress and later discovered that I also questioned, if not felt like I lost the father of source or God. Right? Because I questioned, why would a God, or do this? Like, why is life so painful? Why would they take your greatest love and support away from you? And there was a part of me that was so good at repressing emotions, like I didn't even get angry about it, but would later deal with that later because that's still in you. So going from that, even questioning, sent me on a journey of what makes life worth living. But when I had that profound awakening moment, there was a whole new profound sense of trust. And it felt like I could start to step into this new world where I could truly trust the unfolding of everything. I could truly trust that it's all for me and life is working through me, not against me. And I can truly start to trust that we all are interconnected, because I would, in my head, read the alchemical text that we're all of the one divine mind, but not always believe it, right? That I'm connected to you and you're connected to me and we're connected to everything that we see. But that gave me an experience of where I was starting to step over. But I didn't want to surrender fully. I didn't want to let go of the old parts of me. So I know as I was in between these two worlds, I spent 3 or 4 months in a negative mental space internally, but externally, I was in a period of life where I really woken up to, hey, I am living my golden life. I am living my dream. I'm by the beach. I've found my purpose. I have my beautiful daughters and wife, and I'm doing it. And this was like the biggest mirror put in front of me that I had to look and realize that the only suffering was the suffering I was creating for myself and getting stuck in these mental loops. And this is to acknowledge the after of closing a chapter. There's also a grieving period. You're not going to hear people talk about this, but there's a part of you dying off. And it's not always, sometimes it could be like a branch that you could just cut, but sometimes it's like a tree that naturally doesn't have somebody to come prune that off, right? The branch dies, and then it slowly dies, and then eventually it gets so dead that it just kind of falls off at some point. And that's what it's like. There's a part of you that's like a branch that's slowly dying, and then it's going to fall off. So this is where the more you can surrender during the phase post a deep transformational experience, and then allow yourself to feel all these feelings come up, because this is where you're going to have days where you fall back into your old pattern. I've talked about this before. It's an oscillation between the old version of you and the new version of you, and you're going to teeter-totter between the two. It's part of the process. And you're going to have days where you feel great and feel connected to everything. And then you're going to have days where you feel down and you're like, what the heck? Why do I feel down? Like, I know this other way, but I'm back here. Now, some of it could be that you're grieving, but you're attaching it to your old patterns, right? Or you're attaching it to some circumstance. Or if you're like me, you're in a situation where you know it's only you making it up because everything else is golden in your life. And you're like, I made the mistake of attaching it to other things or attaching it to old ways of being instead of attaching it to grief. Because with grief, you can celebrate it, you can honor it, you can feel it fully, you can be in so much appreciation and love for that old version of yourself, and you can hold that grief. Because guess what? Grief is going to be a part of your life through the rest of your life. It's going to rear its head at different moments. So the more that you can work with that energy, that emotion, the more you're going to set yourself up for flow and being the alchemist that can transmute energy. So have some grace, space for grace, because not only with a rebirth are you going to grieve the old parts of you, you're being reborn into a new version of yourself. And guess what? It's like a sweet little baby. And as a sweet little baby, you don't know how to walk. You don't even know how to crawl. You're entered into a whole new world. This is exactly what happens when I crack people open of overcoming their limiting beliefs and realizing they're divine beings in a world of possibility, not uncertainty. And it's like a whole new world. So with that, you're going to have to learn how to crawl, how to walk, how to run in this new version of yourself. So again, give yourself grace. This isn't a transformation that happens overnight. This is an unfolding into the next version of yourself. And I also want to highlight that if you're like David, I am really in it right now. These patterns, I'm starting to become, I've been on the path of being like aware of them, and they are getting crazier than ever. I just feel like I'm constant, like I'm stuck more than I ever have been in my life, but I'm also more aware of them than I ever have been in my life. David, why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? Well, guess what? In my own experience, those deeper patterns where you're ready to make a big evolution, that's like a spiral. It's not like they dissolve. It's possible they can dissolve, but in my experience, it's like a big spiral, and you make a big leap. And the first one is always the biggest leap. And let's say you're on the biggest leap. It's like a pimple rearing its head. Just know all of this stuff, especially if you're really aware of it and you're really stuck in it, it's like a pimple coming up to the surface, and it's gonna be time to pop. Just like if you're a teenager and had a lot of acne and you just pop that pimple, and it might be ugly, right? It might explode all over the mirror. You're welcome for that visual. Which it does get messy with some of your deepest seated patterns. So hopefully you can be a little bit more playful with it, or more importantly, it comes back to the same word, graceful, right? How can you just let yourself acknowledge, I'm getting ready to release a deeper seated pattern. I'm getting ready to level up and hit the next spiral. And from there, I'm going to have more flow, more peace, and more love. And this is part of the process of transformation that not everybody talks about. So if you're in this place, if it's not now, it's only when. And I want you to celebrate. This is a closing of a chapter. And it's a beautiful moment in life, because what is life but a constant unfolding of a closing and opening of new chapters in life? I know I'm going through one myself right now. I'm going to share more in the next episode, and this podcast is going through a closing of the chapter. And the beautiful thing of a closing of a chapter is you have no idea where this new chapter is truly going to take you. It could be more beautiful than you could even imagine on your own. And this is where the land of possibility is, the magic of life, if you can embrace it. If you can embrace the new chapter, right? If you can embrace your next alchemical journey and take the wisdom that you've gained along the way so that you can step through this chapter with a little bit more grace, a little bit more joy, a little bit more peace. And if you do that consistently, eventually you'll become a master of life, and then you'll just have profound joy every step of the way. And that, my friends, is the ultimate alchemist embodying their golden life, embodying their golden state of being. So keep putting in the reps, keep pushing through the breakthrough to the rebirth process. Give yourself a lot of grace. Know it's a special moment when you're closing the chapter of an old pattern or a big chapter in life and going into the new one, and you're going to get scared. You're going to be uncertain. The fears are going to creep in. The doubt's going to creep in, but it's all part of the transformation or transmutation process. So you are transmuting right now. So stay the powerful being that you are. Stay on the path. And I can't wait to hear the gold you're going to get on the other side. So if this episode brought a lot of insight, if I shared something new that really stuck for you, that you know is going to serve you on the journey, my invitation today is to send it to one person. Send it to somebody you know, because we all go through major chapters and we all go through breakthroughs, and it can be hard as hell. So if you have a friend that can keep you and be your support pillar during this process, and you'd be like, hey friend, just remind me to have a little bit more grace. Remind me to let go a little bit more. Remind me that I'm going to get through this, and this is just my deepest seated pattern, and I'm making a huge leap in my transformation, and help me celebrate this moment instead of get stuck in the despair and fear and uncertainty that is very natural to fall into. Wow, that is going to be powerful, my friend. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to do it with a friend, with a support pillar, and I'm grateful that you followed the journey to this episode. This is going to be the closing of a chapter, but with the end of every chapter, there's a whole new journey that's about to embark. And that, to me, is the most exciting adventure of life that we are all living together. So thank you. Keep being the alchemist that you are and stay golden.